So thank you all for joining us to our 2022 Friends of Scouting presentation. And we'll get started with our introductory slide. This is a slide showing you the image of the Scout Me In patch, which was developed for those that give at a $125 level. And it is our new image for Friends of Scouting for the 2022 appeal. We're going to run this appeal formally from 1 December 2022 through the end of February 1 December 2021 this year to the end of February 2022. So it's a 3-month appeal, and we're very excited about our efforts to be able to raise a lot of money so that we can continue to provide unparalleled scouting in the Transatlantic Council. So just a reminder, these are the dates and the times for our Friends of Scouting trainings. So you're here on Tuesday, and we do have another one tomorrow night and another one on Thursday. So if you know of other volunteers that would like to join and participate, please feel free to share with them. By the way, this whole presentation is right now online on our TAC website, and we'll show you exactly where that is. So you can just kind of listen and learn and take a few notes here and there, but know that you don't have to track every little detail of everything you see. I did add a new slide or two today, and by the end of this week, we'll push an updated version. But for the most part, 99% of all the slides you'll see today are already on our website. So just wanted to make you aware of that. So here's our agenda for today's session. We're going to talk about Friends of Scouting and why it's important, and we're going to ask for your input and feedback into that. We're going to talk about the levels of giving and recognition that's available. We're going to talk about our operating budget, bring in money, and just let another person in. We're going to talk about how we bring our money in and how we spend it, and then we're going to talk about how to make a gift. So we're actually going to show you some shots live on how we gift to the Friends of Scouting appeal, because everything that we have is online. So what is Friends of Scouting? It's really two things and not just one. So very commonly, a lot of people think Friends of Scouting is just a way to raise money for TAC Scouting. And that's a big part of it is to contribute resources, money, to be able to deliver the programs and services that we offer. But a really big part of the whole Friends of Scouting are the conversations, are the listening that take place when you invite people to give. And it's so important to communicate the positive impact of Unparalleled Scouting and Transatlantic Council to anybody that you invite to make a gift to Friends of Scouting. And those conversations, in our view, are equally as important as the dollars that you'll help us raise. And so you want to be able to share that story. What is TAC Scouting all about to you or to the individual that you're talking to? Why is it so important? What's the positive impact? How does it affect themselves, their family, their relatives, their friends, the whole community that they live and work in? And make sure as you share those observations and impressions that you also listen to what people tell you on what they feel Transatlantic Council is all about and what they feel local scouting is all about. And that listening is so important in this whole dialogue, because Friends of Scouting, again, is not just about raising money. It's about creating a better awareness of what's going on in scouting in these local communities and how you can be a strong part of it. And a big part of our theme, I would share with you a really comment that has been shared before that you might use in your toolbox as you try to have these conversations is there will be a lot of scouters that you'll talk to, and they'll be very resistant, or they'll say, I have no interest, or I don't want to do that, or hey, in our scouting community, we're good to go. We do get support from Transatlantic Council, but we don't really need much. We have very low expectations. And that's where I think you can share with them that, hey, that's wonderful that your scouting program is so robust, so strong, so varied, so great in international culture opportunities. Wouldn't you like to see that a program like what you're experiencing right now somewhere else? And wouldn't you like to embody the core scouting value of help other people at all times? And candidly, there are lots of families out there in many countries that we're currently not in that would greatly benefit from Transatlantic Council. So even in those communities where you get some resistance because people feel they're self-sufficient or they don't really see the value of TAC Scouting directly in their community, you could say, you know what, years ago, somebody came to this community and organized a unit that you're currently involved in. Someone took the time to do that. And it was probably a staff member and probably a lot of volunteers as well. And wouldn't you like to see that happen in other communities and other parts of Europe, Africa, Central Asia, or the Middle East where we currently serve? And so perhaps, again, that might be a good conversation starter. So I wanted to now just kind of get some input from all of you. So you're invited to participate. This is a chance for me to kind of throw out a question and get some input. And you can just kind of speak up because I'm not going to really monitor the chat. You know, although you're certainly welcome to put any feedback to any of these questions in the chat as well, if that's your style of participating. But I wanted to just ask the question and would ask a few people to jump in. Why is TAC Scouting important to you? Why is TAC Scouting important to you? So I'll pause and here invite people to participate.
I'll start. I'm a little bashful, but I'll start. So for me, it has to do with scouting as a whole. So the organization has been an important part of my life ever since I was a little guy following my big brother around. And having the ability to share that here in Europe with our scouts. And the biggest thing that I get from TAC Scouting when I'm doing this, and I love to share this with people back in the States, is back in America, our scouts talk about history. And in TAC, we walk history. We get to go out and visit all these areas that you're learning about, and we get to walk history. And I've watched the scouting program grow here in ways that I've found in the States. There, I've had scouts go back, they still don't have female units in their cities that they're in. And just to see how TAC has embraced scouting and allowed it to grow over here is huge for me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Patrick. That's a very powerful testimony to especially the fact that scouts here and their families, their parents, live history every day with all the different international opportunities that we have. Anybody else who would like to share why is TAC Scouting important to you?
May I jump in, Tom?
Yeah, please.
All right. So here in Amman, it used to be the Direct Service Council. And I think it was like 5 years ago or something that Amman was taken up by TAC. And so what's the difference? I would say that the big difference is the district executive in my time zone who was kind of dedicated to my work. I find, you know, I'm very happy that now, I mean, John was great, but now Sarah is able to focus more on the problems that we have, and she's very responsive. She's always working on any question I have. She gets back to me right away, and that's because, you know, she's hired, she's working, she's doing this job, and I don't think I would have that level of support if it were direct service, because, you know, they're servicing hundreds of units. So I'm very grateful for that element. Yeah, and then the opportunities that being in TAC provides. I mean, it's just awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alex, for sharing again some wonderful testimony to the impact of you know, recent move that we made just in October, which was to hire Sarah Norman as a district executive, and she's based and lives in Qatar, geographically in your area, in your time zone. So very powerful, and again, that hopefully that will continue to play wonderful impact on your personal scouting experiences. Anybody else would like to share on why TAC Scouting is important to you?
I'll chime in, Tom.
Yeah, please go ahead.
As you know, as some of you know, I'm a product of Transatlantic Council, born and raised in Heidelberg, Germany, former headquarters, U.S. Army Europe, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And growing up, scouting was everything I did. You know, I remember serving as Lodge Chief, getting my skiing merit badge in Kandersteg, doing intercamper every year, doing Golden Falcon, which is now NYLT. I also remember, for instance, the Order of the Arrow and doing my ordeal in Mallorca, Spain. Brotherhood in Kandersteg, and then vigil at the old Camp Freedom near Gießen, and then staffing summer camp with you, Tom, in Camp Tuscany in Pisa. So just a lot of memories that helped shape who I am now as an adult. And so at the time, I respected the adults who were in the program. And so now it's my opportunity to give back. And that's what keeps me motivated and going.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joshua, for sharing. And, Joshua, certainly an incredible set of experiences that he had as a youth. And now so often as adults, we do like to give back, to help other people at all times, and to kind of, repay all those emotional, wonderful experiences that we enjoyed in scouting. And we'd like to see that happen for many young people now. And so thank you so much, Joshua, for sharing those comments. Anybody else would like to share why TAC Scouting is important to you?
I'll take a stab at it.
Please.
All right. So when I was a younger stay-at-home father, I had a much younger son at the time. He's now 15. However, I remember driving by our auto skills center on the military base and seeing a building that was labeled as the Scout Hut. And I was thrilled to see that there was scouting overseas. So I first got my foot in the Transatlantic Council pack that my son and I joined as Tiger, Cub Scout, and the adult partner. So we joined Pack 240. They found out at the time I was a stay-at-home dad, and they said that's when I first started as a committee chairperson. And planted that flag originally to have the Cub Scout pack over here. I never even would have known that there was scouting overseas. So my son's been able to go through the program. He's 15, a Life Scout now. He's working towards Eagle. My daughter was able even to join our local Cub Scout pack at one point, and she's now in Troop 240G, and we're happy to be scouting. And on top of it, I'm employed by the Transatlantic Council this day.
Way cool, Rodney. Thank you so much for sharing again. Another wonderful testimony. While Rodney currently, works on the Transatlantic Council staff with a group of amazing volunteers in 2 different districts, as well as the camp staff of Camp Ventura VSA. Initially he came to TAC, as he just described, as a dad, as a parent, with his kids and his family. And so again, a wonderful testimony on the power and the influence that TAC Scouting can be for people. So I want to dive a little deeper and again, invite those that maybe have not yet had a chance to be famous on Zoom to share your feedback. But what help do you get, or help that you need, to deliver unparalleled scouting in your community? So as you think about all the things that you're trying to do in scouting in your community, what are some of the things that you get or receive or expect from Transatlantic Council to be able to deliver unparalleled scouting in your community? Again, we'll pause and invite anybody to share some comments or feedback.
So, hey, this is Justin Hickman at Ramstein, and
Yes.
I would say that the best thing about TAC BSA is the program, the ability, like Chef Patrick said, to walk history, to camp in different countries, and to, again, prior to COVID, participate in campouts with troops from all over the continent. I miss Intercamp, where we had troops from all over Europe and Middle East. But I see that TAC BSA constantly adapts to try and find a way to have program, even with our current situation with COVID. So I'm very thankful for the program that they put on. Over.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And again, there's a variety of programs, some of which you see in the slide in front of you. Scouts, honoring, veterans at a military ceremony, Eagle Scouts being recognized, or doing outdoor activities, or something as simple as a Cub Scout getting involved in a regatta and powering it with his own energy there. So anybody else would like to share on what help you get or need to deliver unparalleled scouting in your community?
Tom, for me, it's the training, whether it's, I serve on a couple of TAC committees. So whether it's the training to do my job better as a committee volunteer, the wood batch training to be better in the jobs that I have, the volunteer jobs, all of those training, the EDGE, method, having the programs available at the Scouters Annual Conference. So the training that's put on. And as Justin just indicated, yes, we have definitely had challenges the last couple of years, but TAC didn't give up. TAC just became more flexible than it has been to determine how can we provide that training. For the scouts, how can we provide the merit badges? We had the virtual merit badge university and so on. So just thinking outside of the box to get the job done.
Wonderful, Joshua and Justin. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts. Last summer and again this past summer, we delivered a virtual online camp experience, and that reached hundreds of scouts over each of those 2 years from a variety of locations in Transatlantic Council, as well as scouts in a number of states in the United States as well, because of time zone adaptations. And again, it was a wonderful testimony to the volunteers in this council and staff that did not give up when COVID maybe had other plans. So I want to just show you again some additional thoughts as you enter a dialogue with people that you try to invite to make a gift to Friends of Scouting. The positive impact is the number of youth and adults that we reach, the number of countries that we're in, all the recognition that youth can earn, the different day camp programs or summer camp programs. We have 2 iconic summer camp programs, Camp Alpine at Kandersteg International Scout Center in Switzerland and Camp Aventura BSA at a European campground in Sabudria, Croatia. And we also expect in about 13 months from now to launch an adventure camp that we'll call Camp Kenya, right outside of Nairobi, not too far from where Baden Powell, the founder of Scouting, lived his last days on Earth and is buried. And again, it's a wonderful opportunity to participate in Unparalleled Scouting in just another country. We do a lot of community service projects. We have an incredible number of historic trails. So whether you're a scout or not, and you want to participate in a cultural and historic experience, hiking a historic trail in Berlin or in Rome or in a variety of countries, Transatlantic Council is the one that offers that. And you can see the old council shoulder patches on the slide and all the different countries where we typically reach young people. And in many cases, most of those countries we're still in, and we're in a variety of other countries as well. You can also see on the slide just featuring Eagle Scouts, and just focused on the Eagle Scout projects alone. It's incredible the amount of impact in communities when you look at some of the types of Eagle projects, whether it was to support refugees or orphans, or to reclaim a bicycle park or gardens in a high school, or even a 5K run for autism awareness, building bat houses. Those are just a collection of some of the Eagle Scout projects that have been done in recent years. We average over 100 Eagle Scouts in our council every year. And so this is just a small example of some of the Eagle projects that have incredible positive impact in the community. So why invest in TAC Scouting for you personally and for those that you'll invite? It's an opportunity for us to reach more young people in more countries. Our expectation is in about 4.5 years, when we're in the year 2025, which will be the 75th anniversary of Transatlantic Council. We came over in 1950, is to be in 75 countries. And we're in about 45 to 50 right now. We'd like to be in 75 in just about 4.5 years. And you can help us do that by investing in Friends of Scouting, so that we have the resources for our staff and our volunteers to be able to go to some of these countries and help organize new programs, or to even strengthen our camp programs at Camp Alpine, Camp Aventura BSA, Camp Kenya, to train more volunteers, as Joshua mentioned, to provide stronger support to our communities, and candidly just to organize more scouting units so that we can have more young people in the program. Ultimately, to deliver the values of the Scout Oath and the Scout Law in all of our young people and all of the adults as well that serve. And you can see here, a wonderful family in TAC Scouting recently relocated to the state of Washington, but still very, very active in scouting in their community. So let's go to get some of the key components of our Friends of Scouting 2022 appeal. The first thing we did several months ago is invest a lot of time and effort with each of the district key leadership to have them look at their prospects over the last several years, and to identify what would be their target or their goal to raise from 1 December through the end of February in pledges And so you can see the dollar amounts that are listed there. And our expectation is that every one of those districts will be very successfully in meeting their goal, as well as the executive board has set a very ambitious goal of $110,000. And then we're going to rebrand our community outreach, Friends of Scouting, to a TAC alumni, because we feel there's a lot of alumni that can support us more directly in that effort. And so you can see all of the dollar amounts. It's going to be an incredible year because in 3 months, we're going to raise over $300,000. And that's very exciting as we look to grow our program even further. So how can you help, or who can help you raise Friends of Scouting? There's lots of people that can help you if you are attending as the only one from your district today. There's lots of donors out there that have given already in the past, or are current donors, and even this most current year. People that have served in the past on Wood Badge or have been to that training experience often have a strong connection to Transatlantic Council. For those that have been recognized as volunteers with the Silver Beaver Award, the Award of Merit, or the TAC Patch, often they feel a strong emotional connection to our council. There's lots of volunteers at a unit level that have high experience and wonderful memories at the local unit level that I can often feel a strong allegiance to TAC Scouting. Certainly Eagle Scouts of all ages, especially those that either moved into the area as an Eagle Scout or those that earned that rank of Eagle Scout within Transatlantic Council. Often they have a strong allegiance to our council, as well as their moms and dads as well. There's lots of TAC alumni, and certainly don't overlook, if you're in a district, don't overlook asking an executive board member or someone from a council committee to help you raise money in your district, because they often are very comfortable in doing that. They also reflect the value of help other people at all times. And they oftentimes were a volunteer perhaps in your district. So don't overlook those individuals as well. And then part of the dialogue or story that you can share as you approach your donors is that, you know what, because of your Friends of Scouting gift, we together can experience unparalleled scouting. Because here's a lot of the things that TAC does with the dollars that are delivered through Friends of Scouting. We provide every year over the last several years free Pinewood Derby cars and free lunch boxes this year for all the youth that renew their charter this month in November and pay a line. And we expect several thousand scouts to be able to do that. And that's a great recognition program that we've had for a couple of years and with great success. We also know that sometimes scouts can't financially fully afford a camp experience or a training experience. And so we have an Eric Cooley endowment that's well over $60,000. And the earnings off of that can provide campership support for scouts that need that help. We also offer incredible Klondike that's coming up in January. It's almost pretty much sold out from what I understand. And that's just incredible when we think about trying to get everyone back together in a safe environment as early as January. Our Normandy Camporees, our signature Camporee, we offer it every 3 years. Next coming up in April of 2022. Lots of excitement. We have almost 1,000 scouts and leaders already registered for that program right now. And that registration is continuing to grow. As well as, again, our camps, Camp Aventura BSA, Camp Alpine, and Camp Kenya. We also offer a Scoutathon, which is a wonderful program that we pivoted a few years ago. It used to be, even as recent as 2 years ago, a fundraiser for Transatlantic Council and for TAC units. And we changed that to where it's now a complete fundraiser for TAC units. And there are units participating in that as recently as today that we became informed, are earning thousands of dollars for their unit program through the TAC Scoutathon. And so 100% of the profits, 100% of the profits stays with the unit. They also have an opportunity through the youth that participate. The youth can earn valuable prizes for recognizing their efforts in the different levels of fundraising. And those prizes are provided at no charge to the unit by Transatlantic Council, by your Friends of Scouting dollars. We also have incredible liability insurance programs as part of the BSA registration fee. We also provide accident insurance programs for all of our youth and adults. We push out weekly Wednesday TAC Connection e-newsletters that consistently keep people informed We have a very robust social media presence on TAC Nation on Facebook. And candidly, also, we have an amazing staff that work with me daily to answer questions, help with recruitment, program advancement, whatever people need. You've got people based in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in Germany, and Qatar that can help you with any questions that arise. And you heard Alex earlier share some of the delight that he is experiencing with Sarah Norman in his district executive. You can see functionally that most of the money that we bring in through Friends of Scouting and every other venue that we generate revenue for, that over 90% of the money through auditors has been confirmed is invested in the programs and services. We do spend some money on administration and on fundraising costs like this, but very little percentage-wise given the dollar amounts that we're raising. And that's based on a $1.6 million budget. Over 90% of that money is spent on program and services. Sometimes people though, well, that really doesn't tell me as much. So can you give me a little bit more detail on just how you spend your money? That's really what I want to know. So if you need to go down that dialogue, we encourage you to think about Transatlantic Council spends its money typically on people and on stuff. And that might be a simpler way to explain how we spend our money. So we employ 8 full-time staff in Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Qatar. We also employ a number of seasonal staff that work at our summer camps in Switzerland and Croatia, and also in Kenya. And that takes money to be able to provide those resources so that people can be in those roles. We also buy a lot of stuff though. We purchase, as I mentioned, accident insurance for all of the youth and adults. We have a number of COVID-19 precautions that takes money to provide. A lot of commitment to safe scouting. We buy a lot of patches and a lot of recognition and a lot of awards and a lot of recognition and training. A conference that we held just in Brussels last month that attracted over 60 people in a COVID environment coming from a variety of countries. So we really felt that was a very, met a great need to just allow people to connect with each other and get trained on vital information. We also have a very robust website that this year was updated dramatically. It's much easier to find information, and it's much easier for our staff and volunteers that update the content to be able to update that in real time, literally in minutes, where before it was a very cumbersome process. And then we organize a lot of new programs, new units, and we recruit lots of new scouts. This year alone, well over 1,000 new scouts have already joined the TAC program this year. And that took a lot of effort from volunteers and staff to be able to do that. So essentially, if people are asking, where do you spend your money on? We spend it on people and we spend it on stuff. So this is a chart that I wanted to go over just for a few minutes, more than the other slides. And this is the approach that we're recommending that all of the TAC alumni, the executive board, and each of the 6 districts follow. And that is an IC5 approach to Friends of Scouting. And it's really a play on word if you look at the slide. IC5 means I see 5 individuals and invite them to give to Friends of Scouting. And so we encourage every district to share their IC5 plan with Jim Kramer, our Vice President for Development, and myself, so that we can give you feedback. And here's an example of what your chart might look like. You'll list the different categories, whether they're on the district committee or maybe the commissioner staff, or maybe they support the district in advancement or activities or training, or maybe later on in the chart, while I'm not showing it to you, you could list individual scouting communities or particular units that are very strong with a lot of families involved. And then you list across the way in bold what we call the captain. So the person who's willing to not only make their own gift, but would be willing to see 5 people or so. And again, 5 could be 6 people, could be 3 people. It really just varies. But they'd be willing to serve as a captain and see those people. And then you list the people underneath that they'd be willing to visit and have a conversation and invite them to make a gift. We have pretty robust Friends of Scouting data, so we can provide you history of people that have given in the past. And so we encourage you to list a couple of columns of previous gifts that each of the individuals have had, and maybe some people haven't given, and that's fine. You always want to be looking for new donors. And then the most important part of this whole chart is the column that says 2022 FOS or Friends of Scouting Ask. What are you going to invite that person to give? And we encourage you to put a specific amount and not just say, would you like to give to Friends of Scouting? No, would you consider a gift of $500 to Friends of Scouting? Would you consider a gift of $125 to Friends of Scouting? Be very specific. And when you come up with that number, it's a little bit of an art and a science. You definitely want to encourage people to give more than they gave in the past. Or in some cases, if they don't have a track record, just do your best estimate of what you think that person might be willing to consider. You certainly should start everybody out at the Scout Me In level, which is $125, or maybe you start them at the 1 Scout level, which is $250. And there was a wonderful comment shared yesterday by Chris Wolf, and I want to share it here again. And that is that there's a lot of people that feel a strong connection emotionally and experientially with TAC Scouting. And so don't limit your suggested ask by just whatever data may be in front of you. There could be people out there that could actually make a significant gift to Friends of Scouting, and yet maybe the data doesn't tell you to evaluate them at a higher level than you might expect. So don't overlook people's willingness or the strong connection they feel to TAC Scouting as a way to evaluate, what they potentially could do. And then the far column, you'll actually list as gifts come in, and we can share that feedback with you every Wednesday. So we'll give out a report every Wednesday in December, January, and February. And you can then track those actual gifts and see where you're at. You can see also in this chart, once a donor makes a gift, we encourage you or suggest that you highlight their name, their whole row in yellow. And then when a complete team has everybody in the donor category, and you can see examples where advancement and training have, then you shade that entire team into green. And now all of a sudden that puts a little bit more competitive effort for those teams that are not yet in green to try to get conversations with those people that have not yet given on their team, so that their whole team can come across as making a gift. So it's a wonderful, simple chart that you can update yourself within your district as a way to communicate results and also expectations. So I'll pause because I've been talking for a few minutes. Any questions up to now on anything that we've shared?
Tom, can I provide some feedback just on my observations and how we've done in the past?
Please do.
So one of the things that I have done is I created my own spreadsheet once I've either been assigned scouts to reach out to, or I personally have identified, because I notice the older I get, the more my memory starts to fade. And especially if you're sending a lot of emails or making a lot of calls, you want to be able to track who you called, when you called them, what the conversation was like. So I would encourage everyone to have their own spreadsheets that you capture that data. And, TAC is one thing, but I also highly encourage you to reach out to people in the US, those that are in Scouts and those that aren't in Scouts. We have been pretty successful in the last few years, having, for instance, Scouters who have virtually no connection to TAC. Maybe they came and did Wood Badge and that was it, but they were based in the States, who have contributed. So don't just think that this is only for Transatlantic Council. It's for any Scout and even non-Scout out there. There are some people who aren't involved in Scouting that will contribute as well. If you're reaching out to people that you haven't connected with in a long time, there were some of those. Obviously, the first thing you don't want to do is you don't want to sell right away. You want to get reconnected first. You want to, talk about what they've been doing the last 10, 15, 20 years. And then over time, you want to be able to then see if they're willing to contribute to TAC. And you'll find that many of them, most of them are absolutely on board to do that. Obviously, though, that requires everyone to kind of start early now in terms of that reconnection. In terms of contributing, I find there's nothing worse than asking someone to contribute when you yourself haven't contributed. So I highly encourage you to contribute first and then go out and do that ask. I know that first week in December, usually it's around December 1st, or at least the first week, I'll contribute right away just so that I can get that taken care of. And then I can, ask others to contribute. The other thing I want to mention is, I've taken it on myself in the past to have any group that I'm affiliated with. So whether it's the Wood Badge staff or the International Committee, to ensure that everyone serving there contributes. So I strive to have 100% participation. Some years we have, other years we have it. I would encourage you on any committee you're on, whether it's a TAC committee or even a district committee or even a troop committee, to strive to get to 100%, keeping in mind that there might be years where you don't get 100%. We had a year where someone was ill for most of the year. And obviously there's a right time and place to ask someone to contribute. But if someone is sick, life is more important than money. So, you may not get 100% that year. You may get 95% or 90%, but at least you're striving, you have a goal. So set those goals. And, don't be concerned with who you ask. I mean, we had people from kind of the highest levels last year who contributed, the BSA national commissioner, past national commissioners. So don't be afraid to ask. You'd be surprised as to who's willing to contribute.
Thank you, Joshua. Just a wonderful collection of great tips that I hope all you had a chance to take note of and maybe write some of those ideas down. The other thing I would like to highlight in Joshua's remarks is that importance of relationship building first. So when you do reconnect with people that you haven't talked to in a while, don't start out the conversation by saying, "Hey, I'm raising money for Friends of Scouting. What you give?" Find out how they're doing. Find out what's going on in their world. Maybe what's going on in their scouting world. There was a study done by Bank of America a number of years ago, and it still applies today. And they did an evaluation of donors and what was the importance of relationship building. And they did a study where they looked at individuals who were invited to give to a charity, and those that were invited to just have a conversation and build a relationship. And then maybe on the second or the third or fourth interaction, were they actually invited to give money. And to no surprise, that second approach resulted in higher levels of giving significantly. And you might say, well, so what did the study say? And the study literally resulted in not increasing the gift, it did, not doubling the gift, it did. The amount of overall average gifts increased by 10 times. So essentially the message is, if you feel that you can have a quick conversation with someone and they'll give you $125 because that's the Scout Me In level, if you build that relationship a little bit deeper, you might actually get a gift much larger than that. And not doubled or tripled, but much larger than that. And it's all about relationship building. There are TAC donors that historically you can look at the data, and maybe over the last 3 or 4 years, they've given $100. And maybe that's their ability and maybe that's their interest. But if you had a conversation and invited them to give at a much higher level, often they will accept your invitation to do that. But it's all about providing that invitation. So again, Joshua, thank you so much for sharing those thoughts. So I wanted to go over now the giving levels and the recognition available. To us, the most important level of recognition is at the very top of your screen, and that's the recognition that we have for volunteers. So people like yourself and people that you're going to recruit. For every volunteer that confirms 5 Friends of Scouting gifts other than their own, although Joshua's right, make your gift first, because then it's a lot easier to ask people for money. But anybody that confirms 5 gifts from 5 other people from 1 December through the end of February, you'll qualify for that Eagle patch that you see at the top of the total. It's a wonderful patch, nicely designed, and it's available to anybody. And the dollar amounts of any one of those 5 gifts, it really doesn't matter. It's the fact that there are 5 people willing to make a gift to Friends of Scouting at whatever level, obviously, that they determine. And then the levels of giving also come with recognition. And so you can see there in the middle of the chart, the kind of the explanation of the codes we've just created for the chart itself. There's a rock climbing patch, a rafting patch, a hiking patch, a penguin derby patch, and then a Friends of Scouting patch. And the Friends of Scouting patch is for those that participate at a $125, we call it a Scout Me In level. If you make a gift of $250, you'll get both the Pinewood Derby and the Friends of Scouting patch. If you make a gift at the 2 Scout level, $500, you get those 2 patches plus the hiking patch. If you make a gift at the 4 Scout level, which is $1,000, you'll get all 3 of those patches plus the rafting patch. And if you make a gift of $2,000 or more, you'll get all the patches, all 5 of those patches to include the rock climbing patch. But again, the only way you can get the Eagle patch is by volunteering your time and inviting 5 other people to give. You'll see also when we talk about 1 and 2 and 4 and 8 Scout levels, what does that really mean, or where did that dollar come from? We've done an analysis of our budget over the last several years, and we've just typically done the data of, what does a $1.6 million budget look like on the number of kids that we serve on average over the last few years. And it cost TAC around $250 to be able to support 1 Scout in the program for a year. So it's just a simple explanation on how we come up with those levels of giving. The other thing to keep in mind is that as people consider these gifts, they don't have to write the check or make the credit card payment all in one motion. And so you can see down below, there are monthly giving examples for over a period of 10 months. What would that look like as far as a per month payment? And so you can see at the 1 Scout level, averaging a payment of $25 a month for 10 months, all of a sudden that $25 becomes a 1 Scout level gift. And so make sure that your volunteers and your potential donors know that they don't have to make all of their payment in one opportunity. And in fact, we highly encourage monthly giving over a period of 10 months, which makes the math easier, or maybe over 5 months, or over 8 months, or 6 months, or 3 months. It's up to the donor on how many months they want to give at a particular level, depending on what it is that they like to do. And again, this chart and all of this information is on our website. And in fact, this is a form that you can use. It's on our website that will link you when you go to the website and you see this section about the Friends of Scouting volunteer recognition, and you see the word Eagle patch, and then right below that you see a question, confirm 5 gifts. Click here to receive your recognition, and it will take you to that form that you see on the screen, where you'll be asked for your name and your mailing address, and then what are the names of the 5 Friends of Scouting gifts that you've confirmed. And you can fill that form out anytime. You could fill that form out on the 1st of December if you were that energized to make contact with 5 people on that very first day of the appeal, or at any time in December, January, and February. We invite you to confirm your recognition and make that request for that Eagle patch. We also wanted to now show you, though, a couple screenshots of the actual giving experience so that you can understand that from a donor standpoint and for your own edification. So if you go to the TAC website, /donate, it'll take you right to this landing page. And if you look in the lower or the left-hand side, you see not only the donate screen that is highlighted in blue, but right below that, there's a Friends of Scouting tab. And that's the other section of the website where we have a lot of information on Friends of Scouting. But if you click on this page and you see the icon where it says donate with the hand, that's where you would go to actually make a gift to Friends of Scouting. And it'll take you to a landing page that will take you right to the district appeals. And then from there, you can coach your volunteer and your friends to make a gift directly to your district, or if they want to make a gift to the board or to the TAC alumni, they're certainly welcome to do that. But for many of the people you're going to be interacting with, you're going to want to drive them to the district landing page that is available to you. The other opportunity, though, is you can go to that second section, that Friends of Scouting page at tac-bsa.org/donate/FOS. And there's also a section there that Allison has created on the website where you can donate right to a specific appeal. So that's another way that you can find your district appeal page and direct your donors to go to that location. Once you go in either path to that location, here's the donor experience. So it will first invite you to put in your name and your phone number and your email address. If you want to list the business that you work with, that's fine. We're an organization that you volunteer for as well as TAC. Down below, all of that information under additional is optional. We do encourage you to have them type in the name of their unit and unit number, just so that we can track that and you can track that. And they're certainly invited, if they're on a district page, to type in their district information, although they don't need to, because it will show up automatically by the fact that they've selected the district, appeal hopefully correctly. And then here's an example of 2 different gifts, just to show you that experience. So here's an individual that says, I'm all in and I'm going to make a $1,000 one-time gift. So I'm going to make a payment of $1,000 all in one setting on my credit card. And you can see at the top, the donation amounts reflect the different Scout levels. So 125, 250, 500, 1,000, and 2,000. You can also select other, and then right below that, a box will appear and you can type in the dollar amount that you want to make. And then you can select the payment frequency. So in this example, they've selected the $1,000 button and they've selected one-time payment. They've also selected down below where it says pay transaction fees. They've actually slid that radio button to the right so it lights up. And what that means is they're willing as a donor to cover the credit card cost for that transaction. So you can see down below the gift amount is $1,000. They're willing to pay the $30 credit card fee. And so their total impact will be at $1,030 is the total amount that will be deducted off of their credit card or e-check. Here's another example just to show you another dynamic on how it works and how you can coach your volunteers to understand it. Here's a donor that says, look, I don't like any of the choices above, so I'm going to select other, and then right below that, when the box appears, I'm going to type in the number 50 because I want to give $50 monthly for 10 months so that my gift or my overall reach will be $500. And so you can see down below, other $50 monthly, and they've selected 10 months. They could have selected 5 months or 8 months or whatever, but they selected 10 months. And then if you do the math, 10 months times $50 a month is a $500 gift. And so down below, you see the gift amount reflected at $50 because that's the payment they're making every month. But the overall gift, the overall reach is the $500. And so that's what the volunteer would get credit for. The beauty of monthly giving is it allows a lot of people to have a larger impact on their Friends of Scouting gift. And the other part that's nice is you don't have to follow up with this volunteer at all. They've already given permission to debit their credit card or e-check $50 a month for 10 months. And you don't have to follow up with them at all. You don't have to send them a reminder that they've given permission that every month TAC will be able to draw $50 out of their account for 10 months only. And then that way, it's another way to, again, extend, major gift opportunities to volunteers that just are not able or comfortable writing out a big check or a big credit card payment all at one time. So again, lots of examples. You can see there in this example, they selected monthly. They could have selected quarterly and made a payment every 3 months. Again, you got a variety of options. So what we encourage you to do before you actually transact your own gift, just play around with the different radio buttons and see the different combinations that you can select so that you really fully understand the donor experience. And then that way, as people maybe have a challenge in some way, you can explain, how it all works. There is a place on the donor platform where they can indicate or search for whether their current employer does a matching program. And sometimes this works well, sometimes it doesn't. So if it doesn't work and the donor does work for a US-based company that might have matching gifts, we encourage you to have them select this information, and we can always help them follow up. It's a very simple process in many cases to help a volunteer donor apply for a match. And we've actually raised thousands of additional dollars every year from companies like Exxon and Visa and others, Bloomberg, to be able to match dollars. And so it is a significant amount of money, and those additional dollars, especially if it's a donor from your district, goes right to your district appeal. And so don't overlook matching gifts. And then down below in the donor experience, it'll ask you to list your address, your billing address. And then you have 3 selections. You can select a credit card. We do accept Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. Or you can select an e-check option, which allows you to debit your checking account or savings account on however you instruct the person to do that. Or if you're just not able or willing to make a payment at any time in this experience, you can make a pledge and just confirm the fact that you're good to go with a pledge for whatever dollar amount that you indicate. The only challenge with that is just be aware it will involve some follow-up on behalf of our staff and our volunteers to be able to follow up with that donor to say, thank you so much for your pledge. Now, how would you like to pay that and over what time period? And so that does take some more time on our part, but it certainly is an option, and we're delighted to accept pledges of any amount to be able to give that donor experience. And then down at the bottom, as a donor, before you kind of check everything, all the information's good to go, there is a box that you select and check to be able to confirm that you're good with all of the information above. And then you hit the Give Now button and then pause and just let the computer work its magic and process your gift. And then the donor should get within seconds an instant acknowledgement via email of a receipt, if you will, of their gift to Friends of Scouting. And so that's available to them right away. Here's a preview of some of our additional gatherings for key volunteers, perhaps like yourself, or if you're on the call today just because people invited you to attend and you're going to be one of the captains, you don't necessarily need to attend these meetings, but keep in mind for key volunteers that would like to have an overarching influence in the overall direction of the Friends of Scouting Appeal. We're going to meet on the 1st and the 8th of December at 5 p.m. Paris time at that Zoom link. For a bit of time just to kind of review progress and create some energy, provide some recognition. Be aware also that TAC will push out a message to all of our key volunteers and stakeholders and donors on the 30th of November, which is Giving Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday after the US holiday of Thanksgiving. It's an opportunity to raise a lot of money in just one day. And there are lots of Americans and others that participate in that. We want to be sure TAC Scouting is a big part of that. We'll also push out messages later in the month of December to remind people of year-end giving opportunities. And candidly, there is a lot of money that is raised in the last week of the month and the last day of the month. December 31 is probably the most successful day for raising money, whether it's in TAC Scouting or in other nonprofits. A lot of money is raised even on that very last day because people are seeking perhaps a US tax write-off or a tax write-off in another country. For those that you know that are stateside, you can offer them a text to give opportunity. It really just conveniently allows them on a smartphone to go to our website much quicker. They can text TAC Scouts to that phone number on the screen, and then it'll take them to the giving platform where they can enter in all of the donor information. So again, it's not like a traditional text to give where you just text a message and it automatically deducts dollars out of your account. It's a little bit different than that, but it's just another way that volunteers can find the giving page. In January, we'll meet on every Wednesday in January. Unlike in December, we're only going to meet on the 1st and the 8th. And so again, we'll meet at 5 p.m. Paris time briefly, just to check in with each other, key volunteers only in the Friends of Scouting. We'll also reach out that month to Eagle Scouts of all ages and a lot of our alumni, Silver Beavers, Wood Badge, all the different stakeholders that we can, inviting them to give to Friends of Scouting. And perhaps with a little bit of encouragement from you, they might actually give to your district appeal, which will help you again raise a significant amount of monies. And so we're expecting a lot of different communication to go through in December, January, and February. We'll also give districts an opportunity during one of those months to push out a very specific message just to volunteers in their district to encourage them to help the district reach its Friends of Scouting goal. And so just stay tuned for that as we provide more direction and sample emails that you can craft for your own district. In the month of just lost my presentation here. Let me stop sharing and then share again. I'm not sure what happened. So back to our little pause here. In January again, we'll have Friends of Scouting meetings every week, and then in February we'll do the same. we'll have meetings throughout the month of February on the 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd. We'll push out messages again over Patriotic Days. And then keep in mind, we expect to end our campaign by the end of February. And so what that means is that all districts and the council are expected to achieve their Friends of Scouting pledge goal by the end of February, knowing that some donors may pay later in the year, and that's perfectly fine. So what you want to do is you're tracking all of your Friends of Scouting gifts, is track the total value of each of the gifts individually that people make and what are those totals, knowing that some people will pledge and pay later, or some people may make monthly gifts and then pay continuously past the end of February. That's okay. So if someone, as an example, makes a commitment online to do a monthly gift of $50 a month for 10 months, you count that as $500 being raised in your campaign, even though the value of those $50 payments haven't yet, all been fulfilled. And so, but the idea is by the end of February, we're not going to be asking anybody for money anymore. We want to do this in 3 months, just like we did in the last year. Not sure why Zoom is cutting me out, so we will try this again. I think I just have a couple more slides to go, and so in March we'll celebrate on the 2nd of March, and then in April through November we'll continue to cultivate people and things like that. At the TAC website, this is the website at the very bottom where you have lots of resources that are available to you, including this presentation. We also have printable QR codes to be able to allow you to show that to people, and with their smartphones, they can directly scan the QR code that is their district, and that will take them right to the landing page. So I'm going to stop now the presentation, and as far as the slides, and again, my apologies for why Zoom was kicking me out of all the different options for those last few slides. But at this point, I'd like to just pause and thank you for participating today, and we'll stay on the line for any questions that people may have, and I'll continue to record as we get any additional questions that may come to mind, and then at some point we'll stop the recording. But at this point, I just wanted to pause and thank you all for participating in today's session, and I'm here now to answer any questions that you may have.
Tom, if I may start.
Yes.
All right. So I can see that, what I would want to do is I'll go, first of all, in Amman, as far as I know, there hasn't been anyone contributing to Friends of Scouting. And but I'd like to confirm that. Is there any way I can, as a volunteer FLS champion, I can look to see what's going on in my neighborhood?
Yeah, so you can reach out directly to Sarah Norman and just ask her to provide you with a donor list from even the last few years of volunteers from Horizon that have given to Friends of Scouting, and she can give you that information.
Very well. So I would take that information. I'll look at that. I'll take that information. So before I go into either a troop meeting or a PAC meeting or something, saying, all right, so here we are. It's been perhaps 6 years. The troops PAC's been around for 6 years. Everybody here has benefited from scouting in one way or another. But now what's that worth to you, right? I mean, how could I do that? And I can see, that pitch would be successful. But then, passing out a sheet of paper, asking them to scan the QR code, filling out the form is going to turn off a lot of people. Some people will just want to say, hey, all right, here's 20 Jordanian dinar, and please pass it on to the Transatlantic Council. So I would collect that on behalf of the unit, and then I would send it off to TAC as the unit. I mean, are there expectations of what each unit should provide or should raise?
Yeah, so a couple of things on that. That's certainly one way you could do it. We would we would suggest you maybe not do that, just because now you're handling cash. And we're trying to preserve people's the anonymous initial nature of how much they choose to give by giving everyone a chance to process their gift online securely, so that you don't have to handle any money at all. But certainly if that's the approach that you feel is more comfortable, there's nothing wrong with that. As far as the expectation of what is the total amount of dollars that are raised by a community in a unit like yours, it's totally up to you. It's whatever you feel the value of scouting. We would encourage you to at least invite people for their own personal gift to consider a gift at a Scout Me In level, which is $125 or whatever is the equivalent in your local currency. The other thing that I didn't show you directly on the last slide, though, but it is under Friends of Scouting Resources. In addition to this presentation, both in PowerPoint and PDF format, there is a sample presentation, Alex, a script that you can use when you're communicating the entire Friends of Scouting story to families in your unit, if you're having a conversation as like at a PAC meeting or something like that. And it's a short 5 or 6 minute dialogue. You can adapt it totally to your needs, but it gives you literally the things to say and the things to show and do during those 5 or 6 minutes. There's also a sample email that you can send out to parents and volunteers in a unit where you're trying to educate them on the awareness, or even provide the invite, because you can include a link directly to Horizon District. And there's even information on if you want to just talk to someone on the phone, what would you say and how would you manage that conversation for a minute or two. So there are additional resources to help you locally if in fact you do a presentation at a unit level to create that awareness, to create that emotion, and perhaps have people, respond with a gift to Friends of Scouting.
All right, now my other question is, I heard you were talking about alumni, maybe friends and family back in the US. Isn't there like a gentleman's agreement among councils not to fundraise in their council?
So there is, but here's the exception. People in any fundraising capacity give to people they know and trust. And so when we say go reach out to people in the States, we're not talking about just generically, I'm gonna, I grew up in Northern Virginia, so I'm not gonna go out and reach out to people in Northern Virginia generically, but I am gonna go out and reach out to people that I know and the people that trust me. So as an example, I'm gonna reach out to Transatlantic Council staff that I worked with 30 years ago in the 90s, because I still keep in touch with them and I want to give them an opportunity to give. Do they geographically live in a local Boy Scout council? Absolutely. But where's their allegiance? It's the Transatlantic Council. And they are actually delighted to hear what's going on today. They appreciate the updates and they give very generously. Likewise, my son's grandfather lives in Florida. He's a donor because of my involvement in scouting and our son's involvement in scouting. He lives in Florida. He's in a geographical council for Florida, but he gives to Transatlantic Council because he knows and trusts me. So it's not a generic opportunity to go raise money in the States, but one-on-one or reaching out to your family and friends, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to people that you know. And candidly, a lot of volunteers will often donate to more than one council. The council they live in, and the council that they have a strong allegiance with, which oftentimes is Transatlantic Council.
Thank you.
Tom, it's Chris. There's a question in the chat about can folks anonymously $5 or $10 at a time and then send that to TAC BSA. We really want dollars to flow to us via the website. So that $5 or $10, and the donor can mark that as anonymous in the portal, in the donor portal, as Tom was showing earlier. So we're really not looking for collection of $5 and $10 of cash to be coming our way.
Yeah, and to be very candid, without apology, we're looking to raise $302,500. candidly, we're not able to do that $5 at a time. We do not have the volunteer and staff capacity to reach out to that many people to collect $5 and $10. So I would highly encourage you that if you are having a conversation in a group setting or in a even a patrol or den setting, to not ask for $5 or $10, because guess what? That's what you're going to get. And is that really what TAC Scouting is worth to you? I think it's actually probably worth more than that. And so again, you could use the parent portal. At the end of the day, it's up to the donor what they make, and all gifts are certainly welcome and greatly appreciated. But candidly, I would highly encourage you not to raise $5 and $10 at a time, because I do believe in any case, I think TAC Scouting is worth a lot more than that. But that's my opinion. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's what the donor feels. But I do believe most of our donors, if they were given an opportunity to give or start a conversation at a Scout Me In level, would probably start there.
Tom, we, as we all know, Americans are a very caring and giving society, and they contribute to all walks of life. The challenge that I've had, one of the bigger challenges in the past, and I know we briefly talked about this, is how do we encourage Scout, because Transatlantic Council has a lot of scouts that aren't Americans, that come from different countries, where their countries just aren't into contributions and contributing and donating. How do we turn that around, and how do we encourage people who come from those countries especially, and encourage them to contribute? It's been a challenge in the past with me, with some of the people I've reached out to. I'm sure you as well. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Joshua. And I know in a number of cases, we reached out to donors this current year in the 2021 appeal that were not Americans. And when they were asked to give, literally some of their responses were, "What are you talking about? I give my time. Why are you asking for money?" Or, "I give a lot of money locally to my local scouting program. Why do you need money?" And it just, as we discovered further in the dialogue, it was very clear that in some cultures, financially giving to nonprofit charities is just not part of their experience. Where in American cultures, the nonprofit sector is huge, and is a big part of giving. And the Giving Tuesday is an example where literally millions of dollars are raised in one day, because someone thought, well, hey, it's a couple days after Thanksgiving, everybody's spending their money on Black Friday, everybody's spending their money on Small Business Saturday, everybody's spending their money on Cyber Monday. Why can't the nonprofit community create a Giving Tuesday? And they did, in just very little and effort, a lot of time and effort now, and there's millions of dollars raised. So I think to your point, I think that's where you go back to the original definition of Friends of Scouting. It's not just about raising money, it's about having that dialogue and that conversation with people and really understanding their needs and their desires. And at the end of the day, understanding the motivation for why people of maybe other cultures, why they volunteer their time and their local resources to provide a strong TAC program. And then to just challenge them by saying, literally, for us to continue to be strong as a council, this is collectively what we're trying to do in a very short period of time, 3 months, raise over $300,000. And we would like you to consider helping other people at all times, because perhaps that is a scouting value that you have captured by your TAC Scouting experience. And this is one way that you can demonstrate that. So that even if in your culture or your history, you don't have a giving history or a comfort level, here's an opportunity for you to extend your influence and inspiration into the community you currently volunteer with and many other communities by collectively allowing us to provide resources for us to grow our program. At the end of the day, all of the money that we raise is raised locally in Transatlantic Council, and it's spent locally in Transatlantic Council. So it's a local fundraising effort through the organization of a lot of amazing volunteers, like all of you on the call today and at other training sessions, and those that volunteer their time in the community. So again, I think I would go back to building the relationship and having that conversation and better understand what that donor, where they're coming from. And then maybe just challenge them by reminding them that one of the core scouting values in TAC Scouting is helping other people at all times. And we can do that with our time. We can also do that with our money.
Tom, I have a question.
Yes.
So when we talk to folks who are in organizations, is there any option or opportunity to get a certificate that says, thank you for being a Friends of Scouting, to like the VFW or the Retired Officers Center or things like that?
So
Over.
it's not part of our current recognition effort, Rudy, but there's nothing that would say, hey, if you make a request because these organizations are also making a gift and they would appreciate some type of certificate, we can certainly find a way to perhaps make something like that happen. We typically provide them instantly. If they make the gift online, they get within seconds an email thank you from us that acknowledges their gift. And then of course, depending on the size of their gift, there's patches involved. But if you feel a certificate would be helpful, I think upon request, we can certainly look at that if that's another way that would help acknowledge people's generosity through an organization like, the American Legion, the VFW, or whatever organization that you might be referring to.
Yeah, and I mean, for the ones I'm thinking of, so a patch becomes a personal issue, but a certificate then becomes an organizational representation, right? Because who do you give the patch to? Versus if it's a certificate, then it's something they can put on their wall and start collecting as we do, in Scouts. We talk about collecting that you're a gold level Journey to Excellence, right? How many years you got, that kind of thing. So this would be an opportunity then to start to promote that from a non-individual type of avenue. Over.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're happy to consider that, Rudy. Just as you confirm those gifts, if you feel a certificate would be helpful, just let us know what that certificate should say and who to mail it to, and we'll be delighted to figure out how to make that happen. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
All right, one more question. What if this were an excellent year and TAC exceeded its goal, doubled its goal? What would it do with the money? I'd love to share that with my the family. Say, hey, look, you give generously, and maybe we'll have something big can happen.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and here's the short answer. We know that next year we're going to have another unparalleled year of scouting, and we have a number of financial buckets of money that we expect to raise money in, whether it's through foundations, whether it's through our auctions at the different conferences, whether it's through our combined federal campaign, whether it's through the military funding we get through morale, welfare, and recreation. So let's say we raise $600,000 in Friends of Scouting. Literally, what that means, Alex, is we have more money to be able to do more things. We have more money to perhaps maybe hire another district executive, because we have enough money to be able to do that. If we can feel that not only can we fund that in 2022, but we can fund that in future years, because the last thing we want to do is hire someone, for 3 months or 5 months or whatever. So literally what it means is the more success we have in fundraising, the more things we can do, the better camp programs we can offer. When Rodney and Garrett and Jude come to me and say, look, we really would like to buy more things for our summer programs. And we can say, well, here's all the money we have. Oh, guess what? We raised $600,000 in Friends of Scouting. Let's bring out your shopping list for camp and let's see what additional things that we can buy, because we now have more money. And it's not a question of where we got to spend it all as well. There's nothing wrong with having more money so that in a down future year, you have money to be able to cover, when you're not so successful. But the bottom line is, if we have more money, we can do more things. That's a great question. Other questions that people may have? Well, let me stop the recording.